Church leadership problems are nothing new, and every leader will have to navigate difficulty at some point. Leadership is a complex journey full of change that requires a tremendous amount of adaptability. The best leaders understand that challenges come with the role and work hard to resolve problems and to prevent unnecessary hardship. Maybe you're the leader or someone in the middle and you don't know what to do. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 common church leadership problems, how you can resolve them, and hopefully avoid haphazard, unnecessary pain. Leadership problems can happen within the best of churches and even to the best of leaders. Being aware of these common leadership problems can help you safeguard against a leadership crisis. There are measures you can take to create a healthy leadership environment and frameworks that you can use for making better decisions. If you're ready, let's talk about the 5 common church leadership problems that are happening today. The first is inadequate training for staff and team members. Many pastors and church leaders learn most aspects of ministry that require leadership skills along the way. For some, leadership just comes intuitively. However, most people holding leadership positions within churches really aren't equipped or prepared with leadership skills. This issue is perhaps one of the most common leadership problems that churches face. And naturally, it makes sense. These people have a difficult time making decisions, handling conflict, and motivating others. It's not uncommon for this issue to lead to division in the church, lack of direction, and separating of ways. Some leaders are great at sharing a vision and getting others to rally around an idea. Others know how to equip a team with necessary information and skill. However, effectively leading others requires a reasonable amount of both of these qualities. Church leadership problems arise when leaders lack self-awareness or an unwillingness to budge from their predisposition. Speaking of which, if you need help developing your people, I'll link to a video in the card above. Every leader must be willing to empathize with their team, receive feedback, make adjustments, and empower others. If you're wondering if poor leadership training is taking place where you are, or if it's something that you're personally experiencing, you'll notice these problems beginning to surface. There's a lack of clear expectations, procedures, and policies. There's ineffective or non-existent communication among the staff or team. There's a weak or non-existent structure that's supporting your team's communication. There's poor delegation of tasks, improper onboarding for new team members, and controlling or micromanagement from leaders. If your church is struggling with these issues, you'll likely notice a mounting frustration from within your team. The second common church leadership problem today, there's a lack of preparation for church and leadership transition. Leadership change and transition are worthy of proper planning, strategy, and communication. These things take time. I share 5 principles for successfully navigating pastoral transitions in the video that I'll link in the card above. Preparing for leadership changes or communicating about one that has abruptly taken place requires transparent, open communication. Clear communication will help keep everyone at ease and help resolve any unnecessary questions or wondering. Overlooking the importance of preparing for and communicating about leadership change often leads to significant, painful problems that could have been avoided with just a bit of communication and planning. The third problem is ignoring an unhealthy culture. As leaders, you have to be able to recognize and have the courage to address unhealthy cultures. And if you're unsure if the environment you're in is unhealthy, more than likely you've heard about it from those that you're serving and leading. Ignoring ongoing behaviors that are affecting the health and morale of the team or church, man, it will result in painful consequences. If you begin to notice toxicity within your church, you must take action to address it immediately. Every church has a good or bad culture. You cannot avoid creating an environment based on the underlying beliefs that are driving behaviors within your organization. If you're curious, well, how do I know if I'm in an unhealthy environment or culture? There's 5 problems that will surface in unhealthy leadership cultures. And the first one is cliques. If staff or team members are purposely excluding others, give preferential treatment, or isolate themselves, it's detrimental to the health and well-being of your team. The second thing is gossip. Gossip will spread toxicity and erode the trust within your church. Gossip will breed negativity, discord, and low morale throughout the entirety of your team. The third indicator is silos. Silos form when there's poor communication, a lack of direction, and an inability inability to collaborate among team members. It will be challenging to successfully pursue a vision when different groups are working independently from one another. The fourth indicator of an unhealthy culture is high turnover. If your team has a high turnover, it's often an indicator of a deeper problem that's living below the surface. And if you're experiencing this, you're well aware that the cost of turnover is exhausting, because it takes a toll on productivity, resources, and the staff members who decide to stick around. If staff members or volunteers are only sticking around for a relatively short amount of time, more than likely it's related to some aspect of an unhealthy culture. The fifth indicator of an unhealthy culture is burnout. Thankfully, more and more, busyness is no longer being worn as a badge of honor like it once was. Churches and organizations are beginning to recognize the importance of rest, collaboration, and work-life balance. But if you or your team are just living in a perpetual state of tiredness and exhaustion, it's not a season. You could be in a place of burnout. The fourth common church leadership problem happening today is overlooking the importance of your well-being. Pastors and ministry leaders are notorious for prioritizing the wants and needs and even demands of others. However, if one or multiple areas of your health are significantly suffering, it will take a toll on your well-being. Creating space for you to address the areas that you need to address should be supported and admired. If your well-being is questionable, pushing harder, ignoring the signs, and remaining indifferent to your own needs will only perpetuate this problem. Leadership is like a drug for some, and the constant rush of crisis, crowds, and admiration can overshadow the need to address troubling issues. The fifth common church leadership problem today is resistance to change. Crisis, frustration, and problems can begin to surface when leaders are rigid and resistant to change. Whether it's a fear of looking vulnerable or an unwillingness to let go of the past, leaders who refuse to adopt new ways of doing things will have trouble retaining team members and staying relevant. A church leader's willingness and ability to listen to different perspectives, consider new ideas, and remain comfortable with unpredictability will communicate to their team that they're able to stay flexible and adaptable. Unnecessary problems can arise within a church when leaders postpone change until it becomes intolerable, and in doing so, they often remain blind to the pain that others within the team have already been experiencing for quite some time. Leaders who are willing to make calculated decisions, listen to feedback, and implement new strategies will stay current and build a successful team. If you're facing one or multiple of these church leadership problems, I want to give you 3 traits that can soften church leadership problems. These 3 essential areas of focus can help you resolve or prevent unnecessary leadership problems and can help keep your team and church intact even amid difficulty. The first trait is strong communication. A lack of communication is often at the root of most of the problems that we face. If people feel like their leaders are not listening or ignoring their concerns, they simply will just move on. So you've got to focus on strengthening communication within your team. This step means making sure that everyone has a voice and that all discussions are open, honest, and transparent. The second trait is high trust. A high trust environment means that people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and feelings, and they're confident that leaders will take their concerns seriously. When trust increases, stress will decrease. When there's a high amount of trust among a team, it's just simply easier to resolve and to move past conflict and problems. And the third trait is practiced accountability. Practice accountability is just simply holding people accountable for their actions and words. When people know that they'll be held responsible for their behaviors, they're less likely to act in a way that will be detrimental to the team. Ultimately, you will not resolve any leadership problems that are happening until you create accountability amongst your team. Committing to providing clear expectations, remaining transparent, and valuing feedback are all healthy ways to help you practice accountability amongst your team. I provide 3 helpful and valuable solutions to help you build these traits into your church or organization in the post that's in the description. Leadership problems can make or break your church. However, it is possible to work through these issues without splitting up your staff or congregation. Addressing these issues with honesty and sincerity while also utilizing helpful resources can help you overcome almost any leadership problem that you're facing in your church today. Hey, if this video was helpful, be sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you agree that these problems are prevalent. Hey, this is Evan. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.